welcome into episode 2 of Feldco Bears Recap Live with Olin Kreutz and Tom Waddle. I'm David Kaplan. Gentlemen, let's get right into the game breakdown brought to you by our great partners at Four Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. Okay, Olin, I know they're playing the Chiefs this week, but it sure looked like Patrick Mahomes was at quarterback for the Buccaneers playing as Baker Mayfield the other day. What happened?
Yeah, I don't know. I think we're giving Baker a little too much credit. You know, remember, I think he missed Godwin or Mike Evans down there on like a wheel route by the goal line. So the game could have been a little more out of control. Obviously, he made a few plays, broke through what should have been a lot of sacks. I just hate the fact that, you know, Justin Fields went out to Tampa Bay and he was the second best quarterback on the field with Baker Mayfield on the field there. What happened was what we saw in the first game, Cap, right? Offense couldn't sustain, Tom. Offense couldn't score points, and the defense couldn't get off the field on third down because of lack of pass rush.
You know, I think we talked about it last week, guys, that while nobody was going to confuse Baker Mayfield for Patrick Mahomes, he's not an elite quarterback. He is a veteran, and if you weren't able to get him off his spot, you're not able to kind of make him uncomfortable. He can make some throws, as you said, Olin. He's got Mike Evans, who's is going to be a Hall of Famer probably. And Chris Godwin does a great job in the middle of the field. You're right. I mean, he threw for 317 and probably left another 50 or 70 yards on the field as well. So I think it comes down to the same thing. If you get beat in the trenches, you're going to end up getting beat on the scoreboard. And, you know, while they may give you several pressures, at the end of the day, they had one quarterback hit on Mayfield and 0 sacks and 0 takeaways. And that's not going to get it done. We can sit and talk about Justin and the offense all we want, and for good reason. But until this defense starts to threaten somebody, they're gonna struggle.
So, OG, the run game for Tampa was pretty successful. He ran for 120. Rachaad White, 17 carries for 73 yards and a tutty. The Bears ran for just 67 yards on 16 carries. Roschon Johnson only gets 4. So give me your thoughts on the run game specifically.
On the Bears side, you're talking about, I assume.
Yeah, because right? Tampa was really good.
Yeah, Tampa Bay now, I think they're the best run defense over the last 8 to 10 years. It was going to be tough to run the ball against Tampa Bay anyway. You just had to be stubborn with the run, so it opened up other things. You had to force them to play the one run, which, to be honest, they play the run anyway. They load the box. They're going to blitz you. They're going to go cover one. They really don't care. And then they got a guy named Vita Vea, right? And the thing I pointed out during the week was, guys, look, at right tackle, you have a rookie in Darnell Wright, who I think is going to be a very good run blocker one day. You had Jatari Carter, a 7th-round pick. You had Lucas Patrick, Cody Whitehair, and Braxton Jones, a 5th-round pick last year, going through some mental struggles this year. By mental, I mean getting penalties. So this is not a dominating unit by any means. Going against the number 1 run defense in the NFL. So I'm sure the Bears didn't expect to run the ball well, and they didn't. You're not going to get a lot of movement with Vita Vea, and Bose is going to outnumber you in the box on most plays.
Tommy, watching the offense, it felt like there were 6 sacks. I put 4 of them on Justin alone, just not pulling the trigger. And there was even, you and I were talking earlier, there was an RPO where he just made the wrong decision.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're going to have some pop-up drives is kind of how I describe it. And the fact that they can't be consistently effective or efficient is, I think, is at the core of their problems. Like the first drive of the game, we talked about trying to get the quarterback some confidence. And I thought in the first drive, obviously, that should have provided some confidence. You had a couple of chunk plays to DJ Moore. So we've accomplished that goal that we set out to accomplish, which was to get your best player involved in the game more. And then you also had a design run where Justin tucked and ran into the end zone. It was a fabulous play. It was a fabulous drive. So what are we going to do to build on that? And, you know, that's been the problem with this team. You get first drive touchdown, then you go punt, field goal, punt, touchdown, pick 6, interception. Like, as I said, man, you have these occasional pop-up drives that gets everybody, you know, giggly and, oh, my God, look at this offense. But there's no consistency. And you know, I think that's part of the issue here. And I think you got to continue to try to find a common ground with your quarterback and get him comfortable early in the game. And then he's got to help, you know, be a reason why you're scoring points. So I've been a big advocate. I think Olin said the same thing last week. To get him comfortable, you got to get some design runs out there. But I would even ask Olin, look, when you're running read option, I thought I saw defenses in the first 2 weeks of the season playing them differently this year than they played last year. And if you look at the second play of the first drive, their right defensive end stays at home, which means when you put that ball in the belly of Khalil Herbert, you got to leave it there. Now, Justin made the wrong read there and ultimately only had a 2 or 3 yard gain. But I think Olin, teams are going to, defensive coordinators are going to scheme differently for this Bears team. You're not going to see them crashing the ends and allowing Justin to get on the perimeter. And I think they're going to have to be really creative with how they design some quarterback runs because teams are ready for it.
Oh, to be honest with you, Tom, and a Cap, I mean, the NFL, the thing we all learn right away is no matter how good you are at something, they can take it away from you. Anybody can, even at center. I felt like I was really good at reach blocking. I was a quick center. Eventually, they widen that technique. They figure some way to beat you at what you're good at. So what you saw early on this year, like Tommy's saying, is they're taking away what Justin Fields did so well last year, right? They're saying, okay, keep him in the pocket. This is where he likes to go when he runs the ball. This is exactly what he likes to do because now there's all these games of this guy on film being so dynamic. So let's take away the plays that make him dynamic. And that's why I think everyone is saying, okay, you don't have to switch to the Lamar Jackson, the Greg Roman type offense, but why not sprinkle it in somewhere, right? Why not have a quarterback power? I think this offense, honestly, this offensive line, I think Justin Fields, I think the running back, I think they got to get going downhill a little more. Now, I know Coach Morgan and Getsy, they're from the Shanahan tree, right? They're from the LaFleur tree. They like the outside zone. They like the zone principles. Now, they were running some duel last week, and Roshan Johnson's run was a toss to the left side of the offensive line. But I think every once in a while, guys, I don't know what you think, get Justin Fields running straight downhill between Darnell Wright instead of having him drop in the middle of the pocket when you block a field goal and you're on the 50-yard line and you take a sack. Let's run something and get him in 2nd and 6.
Okay, so explain to me then, how do you fix if you cut the field in half and you tell Justin if you're rolling right, you can only stay on that side of the field. How do you then determine whether he's a $200 million quarterback or not if you don't let him play like a big boy in the pocket and make that determination, yes or no, at the end of the year?
There's your $200 million question right there. Like, look, I think the two best plays I've seen from Justin this year in terms of the passing game were the waggle. He went to the right in the first, maybe it was the first or second series against Green Bay, and he got to the edge and threw the ball to Darnell Mooney on the corner route. And then the throw he made to Cole Kmet in the game against Tampa on Sunday. Beautiful throw. Cole's got to make that catch. He's got to bring the ball into his body, protect it, and then protect himself from the ground. He allowed the defensive back to get his hand in on the play. Now, you give credit to the defensive back, but that's got to be a completion. And if you look at it on film, Justin obviously has the athletic ability to get to the edge. And it's odd because you would think that most quarterbacks would be more effective and they'd be more accurate when they have their base underneath them and they're throwing from the pocket where they can see everything. He's best when he's on the move. Like, not only does he see the field better when he's on the move, but he also is more accurate, which is it's unbelievable. But that's the point, Cap. Like, I think that we saw this several years ago when Matt Nagy finally decided to do just what you talked about with Mitch, cut the field in half, gave him limited reads, got him on the move because Mitch was fairly athletic and let him just read the defense that way. I think that would help Justin, no doubt. But at the end of the day, are you putting an artificial ceiling on your offense and your quarterback? And can you give a guy a $200 million bag of money if you have to consistently, limit what you're asking him to do? It's a great question.
Well, how would you handle it, Olin? How would you handle it if this was your guy, you're the center on this team, and you're like, we can't trust him back there?
Well, I know it's the year 2023, and like in politics, you're either a Democrat or you're a Republican, right? There's no in between anymore. But I know everybody says you either got to run the pocket offense or you got to switch. Look, they give Patrick Mahomes half-field reads too. Okay, yeah. He runs boots also. They run the ball with Lamar Jackson down there in Baltimore, and then he reads the field. All I'm saying is sprinkle it in. That's all I'm saying, right? And instead of calling those screens, call quarterback runs. Because here's the thing, my argument would be. Everyone says, look, they're trying to get him to play from the pocket. Well, screens, you're not reading anything when you run all these screens, right? You're not playing from the pocket. You're not going through progressions. The screens is also hiding him, right? So now why don't we roll him out like Tommy's talking about? Why don't we run there? It doesn't have to be all the time. But I'm going to tell you right now, 10 times a game would be nice, right? If you got 70 or 80 plays, give him 10 of them. Give him 10 of what he does really, really well. Right now, you're only giving him 1, 2, or 3, and they're in bad situations. That quarterback draw everybody's talking about against the Green Bay Packers, the game was over, and they ran it. Right? Why not run that earlier in the game? Why not run that on 2nd and 3? Run down a good situation for this young guy. It was funny, man. I don't know what you guys think about this. I'm a fan of the movie Bagger Vance. Have you seen this Bagger Vance movie with Will Smith?
Yep.
Remember when he's talking to and he tells him it's time to see the film.
Right.
It's time to be authentic. It's time to play your game. I literally think Eberflus should go watch that movie and just repeat exactly what Will Smith says in that movie at that moment, because it is time, man. It's time to go play your game, and it's time for Getsy to let him play his game, not 100% of the time, but what about 15 to 20%?
So as we look at this game and the way it developed, the Bears take a 7-3 lead. People are feeling good. Wow, nice job. Got a good drive going. And then the wheels come off because they just can't sustain anything. Can't run against Tampa because they got a good front. Trust you, Chris Jones and those guys this week, they're not going to be easy to run against either. So how do you attack and be able to put the ball on the ground so you could set things up to take shots? And then when Justin's back there and he walks into a sack, when he's got two guys, one there and one there, wide open, he doesn't pull the trigger.
Guys, I think it starts, especially when you're outmanned. Like, there's no chance our roster stacks up with what the Chiefs bring to the table. So it starts with you can't make a mistake, okay? Like, it's just not acceptable to be missing assignments. Like, every now and again, you're going to make a physical mistake, but you can't be making mental mistakes. There's two things that you can control, in my opinion, and that's your effort and that's your attention to detail. So when you're playing a team that's significantly more talented than you, you just cannot afford mistakes. So you can't lose the turnover battle. You cannot lose the splash play battle. You have to find a way to play pretty much mistake-free football and then find a way to kind of make guys have got to deliver. And whether it's DJ Moore, it's your quarterback, it's Khalil Herbert, it's your offensive line, it's your pass rush. Everybody's got to step up their game, and nobody can be the weak link. Like, you can't make mistakes and beat the lesser teams in this league. If you step up in class and you're making mistakes and you're losing the turnover battle and you're getting, you're committing more penalties than them, you got no chance. And they've got to. So that's why I would say you first and foremost, you've got to make sure you play a clean game and you don't beat yourself, because they're very capable of beating you by themselves.
You're watching Feldco Bears Recap Live, also available audio only wherever you get your favorite podcast. Feldco is Chicago's home renewal experts. Call 866-4-FELDCO. We also want to thank Four Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric for all the right reasons. Four Seasons. Vienna Beef. Go to viennabeef.com. Use code CAP23 at checkout. Get 15% off your order today. Get your Chicago favorites. And Dr. Pepper. Grab an ice-cold, refreshing Dr. Pepper today at a McDonald's near you. Speaking of a Dr. Pepper, I'm ready to go.
This guy.
What kind of flavor is that? What kind of flavor is Dr. Pepper?
Strawberries and cream, zero sugar. Right there.
Zero sugar, huh? Even Dr. Pepper has zero sugar now. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Unreal, man.
All right, so I want to take you guys, before we get into some other things, watching Baker Mayfield, I thought going into the game, they got a shot here, the Bears. I didn't like the physical matchup. I know I was talking to Olin on the phone. I'm like, boy, physically they may get whipped up front. But it's Baker Mayfield. Holy smokes. He played a pretty solid football game. 317 yards passing for Baker. 26 of 34. Touchdown, no picks. Was never sacked. He ran 6 times for 17 yards with a long, and he just looked comfortable back there. How do you fix that going forward? Because you got Patrick Mahomes and then Russell Wilson and then Kirk Cousins, and it doesn't get it. Justin Herbert. It doesn't get any easier, Olin.
No, it doesn't get any easier. And to your point, like, how do you fix this? How do you fix what's going on with the Chicago Bears? Going into the season, we talked about, right? We talked about, okay, who is going to ascend on this team? Who's going to become a Pro Bowl type player? Who's going to become a guy who takes the next step, who watches his film, who learns the game, who has a great offseason? You guys name me on the film. I know Justin's not playing well, but name me one guy you think is taking a step from last year. I really can't say anybody. I think we were hoping for Brisker, Kyler Gordon. Brisker's been injured, and he was sick down there in Tampa Bay. Cole Kmet does not look like he's taking the step, right?
No.
Braxton Jones, as Tom talked about, too many mental mistakes, right? You're putting us behind the chains. We're not good enough to end up behind the chains. And it goes into like, okay, what are they doing to develop these players to help them to take the next step, to help them to become Pro Bowlers, all pros? I was just telling someone this today, guys. Every time Brian Urlacher was on the field, we had a chance.
Yes.
He's a first ballot Hall of Famer, right? Every time he showed up, you guys seen the year he was hurt. He hurt his wrist, I think.
The first game against the Packers.
We weren't very good, right? And the whole defense wasn't very good. You seen that defense when they got rid of him, when he left. That defense went to like last in the league, right? This guy was the Bears right now don't have anybody on that team who I would even put in, I don't know, top 3 or 4 in their position in the whole league.
I remember what you said last week to me and to Tommy. You said to Lovey, you don't play cover 2. You play cover Urlacher.
Cover Urlacher.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Yeah. And everyone fed off him, right? Everyone that we had somebody, we got off the bus thinking we got Brian Urlacher and you don't.
To that point, guys, look, this defense, I heard Lance talking about it. It works if you've got talent. I mean, it'll work if you can pressure the opposing quarterback with your front four. They can't do it. Now, I will say with Eberflus taking over the play calling duties on defense, I thought I saw more blitzes in the first series than I had seen in the entire year plus that Matt has been the head coach. So I thought that they at least showed some flexibility and a willingness to adjust because they knew they weren't going to find consistent pressure with their front four. Their problem is even when they blitz, they couldn't get to the quarterback, which I think speaks to what Olin's talking about. At some point, scheme's really important, but you've got to have the horses, and there is nobody that you can hang your hat on when you need a play. Like maybe that whole vibe of the game changes if Brisker on that first pass, I think that.
Second down. You're right.
Yeah, second down. If Brisker makes that play and takes it into the end zone,
you have to make that play.
That's a play to Olin's point. Peanut makes that play. And I get it. Brisker's a safety. He's not a corner. But Peanut makes that play. Mike Brown makes that play, right?
Mike Brown makes the play,
and then what ends up happening is you set the tone and then the confidence starts to roll. And even if you don't have a great group of players, now you got something rolling. So, you don't have that guy. But even if you don't have that guy, somebody's got to step up and make a play, which I think would energize you. And I thought that was an opportunity missed for sure on Sunday.
So, Olin, I want to take you to the end of the game, and we'll get back into some of the other stuff. And I want to get into some Justin stuff. But specifically, you have Levante David. I listened to the tape. I played it on the radio with my guy Hoodie. And he said, we knew what play they were going to run. They ran the same play 3 straight times. We knew the formation. And Shaq just made a play, reached up, went, thank you, and gets an escort into the end zone. Is that Justin not audibling out? Because I asked Eberflus Monday morning. He's not easy to get stuff out of. But I said, Coach, do you allow him to audible? Yes. He can go run to pass, pass to run to run. Whatever it is, yes. So I'm asking you, Olin, should he have audibled out of that play, or is that a bad play call by Luke Getsy, or what?
Far be it for me to argue with Coach Eberflus, but I've never been part of a team, and maybe Tom has, where a screen is called and you're audibling out of a screen, right? A screen is called because you're expecting blitz, you're expecting pressure. So my question to Coach Eberflus after he said that was, what look would have him audible out of a screen, right? Like, I don't even know what that means, to be honest with you. Like, to me, that's kind of a crazy statement for him to make right there that he could audible out of a screen. I wouldn't even know what you would audible to unless you're in what Baker Mayfield did a lot of game. He was in a check with me system. And I'll be honest with you, like, I'm going to go off of it right now because that kind of pisses me off that he said that about that point in the game right there. Like no way on the 1 or 2 yard line are you checking out of a screen. You may check to a screen if you see a blitz, but what's he saying? Like, if they're deep enough, check to a run? Is that what he's saying there? Like, I don't even know what the hell he's saying there. So I'm sure, look, they did run that trips look earlier. They did run that wide receiver screen earlier. I forget it was second or third quarter. They did run that exact look. They did run the running back screen the play before. And we said last week, man, the Bears almost have to pass because everybody's expecting screen. Usually you run screen because everyone's expecting pass. We said last week that's why those blocks on the edge are so hard. They threw that quick pass to DJ Moore, and everyone was out there stopping that. David went right to the quick pass. Cole Kmet and Tunyon had no chance.
Tommy, RJO says players get coaches hired and fired. Nagy and Getsy look good with Mahomes and Rodgers. Then they come here and they don't look so good.
Well, I mean, look, I could probably call plays with Mahomes and Rodgers, and I don't know what the hell they're trying to do in either city. Some guys just transcend their coordinators, transcend their coaches, and just they are, as both of these guys are Hall of Famers. Look, I think that scheme is important. I think game plan is important. I think you have to put your guys in position to take advantage of what they do well. I mean, I have to be honest. I think that there's so much blame to go around here. I think that the line, the quarterback, the coaches, everything, there's culpability everywhere. So it's kind of hard to differentiate. My question is, and I would ask Luke Getsy if I had a chance, is what you're doing right now, not only you're trying to attack the defense, but are you also trying to evaluate? And if you follow me for a second here, is because at the end of this year, I felt the most important question that needed to be answered at the end of the 2023 season is obviously, is your quarterback your guy for the future? Before you pick up his fifth-year option or you consider giving him an enormous contract extension, you have to be 100% sure that he's your guy. Not partially sure. Not like we have to cut the field in half and make you really, really comfortable so that you can excel when things are put in a good way for you. You've also got to provide some solutions, even when adversity is at your doorstep and when you're not so confident. So, I mean, maybe the fact that they're running so much pocket passing offensive play calls and setups is some of that you're trying to make that evaluation. I don't know. I mean, are you trying to make that evaluation, at the expense of your entire team? But before you would be willing to give him that long-term extension and even pick up his fifth-year option, are you trying to find out really whether or not he can work from the pocket? I'm asking the question. I don't know that I know the answer because I think Olin and I both are coming from the same perspective. Look, I mean, he doesn't look good from the pocket. He doesn't look comfortable. He doesn't look confident. He doesn't look like he processes well. So let's ask him to do the stuff that he does really, really well. But if you ask him to only do that stuff, is that worth $200 million? Is that worth picking up his fifth-year option? So my question to the coaching staff would be, is what you're doing right now, is it not only you're trying to put the players in the best position to succeed, are you also trying to come to a long-term evaluation of your most important player? And that may be an odd thought. I have a lot of odd thoughts, but it would really be something I'd like to get their take on. Like, are you trying to not only affect the defense and take advantage of the defense, but are you also trying to get a gauge on what your quarterback is ultimately fully capable of doing?
How do you answer that, Olin?
I think it's such an interesting question that Tom poses, and for two reasons. Because first of all, yes, I think they have to see, no one's ever won a Super Bowl with a pure running quarterback, right?
Yes.
So, but things always happen, and Justin Fields may be the first one. But it's so interesting to me when I hear things like that, because I think to myself, in Hallis Hall, who's evaluating the evaluators, right?
That's
because the owner has told you already that he's a fan.
I'm not an evaluator. I'm a fan.
I don't evaluate. So I guess Kevin Warren is their guy now, right? So Kevin Warren has to make sure that the guys who are evaluating Justin Fields are being evaluated, because how does we don't know if Getsin, Eberflus, or Poles are the guys, right? These guys are all new at their job, right? And then here's one interesting thing I don't think a lot of people talk about yet with the Bears. Everyone always says Poles didn't pick Justin Fields, and they're right. Warren didn't pick Poles and Eberflus.
Correct.
Right? So that's going on all over the organization right now, right? They hired a president, but they hired the guys that the president is supposed to hire. So it's just an interesting, like the chaos you see at Hallis Hall is created by the people at Hallis Hall, right? So now everyone's evaluating. No one knows who's supposed to be there. I mean, Jalen Johnson, one of his interviews today, the things he was saying about Justin Fields was just kind of crazy to me. Like, I don't know. We got to get his confidence up. They're not asking him to do what he's good at. I mean, it was just, when you hear these things, I don't even know what to think about what's going on there.
Yeah,
it's hard you know what? It's really hard to even fathom having these types of discussions in week 3 of a season.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but the truth is that if you play this out and at the end of the season you come to the conclusion that Justin's not your guy, my guess is that Kevin Warren would completely clean the staff out. Like, so if you would move on, and again, purely hypothetical, and as I mentioned, you know, the disclaimer here is I can't believe we're even having this conversation, or I'm bringing this up in week 3. But if you come to the conclusion that your existing quarterback isn't the guy, and you've got 2 first-round picks, and you're going to set your sights on something new and different and pivot and go in another direction, then I would suggest that it's almost 100% likely that the powers that be, and that person would be Kevin Warren, that they would decide to go in a different direction with the entire staff. So, like, look, there's a lot that needs to be determined, and there are a lot of people that are playing for their immediate careers right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, Olin, if you look, Tommy, if you look at Justin, right now, your gut feeling is, do you pick up the 5th-year option? What if they're 0-7? What if, heaven forbid, they're 0-7? Does he keep running them out there?
Yeah, I have to get in a room with these guys if I'm making this decision. I have to figure out what they're actually asking him to do and what he's actually missing, right? Because what we see, the answer is pretty obvious, Cap, after 2 games, right? After well, not only 2 games, but 3 years of Justin Fields. The answer is you don't pick up the 5th-year option. But I don't know everything. I cannot think that the Chicago Bears think it was all right to go into this year with the plan they had for the offensive line, with who they have at quarterback. Like if I'm an evaluator, like if I'm sitting in a room with Ryan Posey and Cunningham, I'm asking them some difficult questions about their plan at offensive line for this kid, right? Like, even as good as I think Darnell Wright can be, that was his 2nd game, his 1st game on the road. Of course he's going to struggle against Shaquille Barrett. Of course he is, right? Of course Braxton Jones, a 5th-round pick, is going to struggle on the road with Lucas Patrick at center, Tevin Jenkins out, Jatari Carter, 7th-round pick at right guard, because you didn't plan. You don't have no elite players on the offensive line, Cap. Look around the league at these young quarterbacks. Look at Philadelphia. Those 2 guys they have been there for 10 years. They're the best in the NFL at their position. Lane Johnson is the best right tackle in the NFL. Jason Kelsey is the best center in the NFL. Like of course he's going to play better.
Yeah, I would say,
Great
Cap,
point.
like, for me, like, I think it's still too early. I mean, like, you, first of all, you don't have to make a decision at this particular time. And listen, I what do they say? Measure twice, cut once. Like, I'm not, it's 2 games in. Do I like what I've seen? No. Do I think the offensive line could do a better job helping him? Yes. Do I think that there's receivers that can help him more? Yes. Do I think the offensive coordinator could help him more and help him be more confident? Yes, I believe all of that is true. But I think, again, when you are making a decision as important as the one at the end of this season, you've got to give this kid a full season worth of look. And I just don't think that you can, if it doesn't look great in week 7, unless something, ridiculous happens, I just don't think that you can make that decision. By the end of this season, you have to have a 100% feeling one way or the other. You can't,
good or bad. Yes, he's the guy, right, or no, he's not.
And I don't know how you come to that conclusion 100% if you only play him 7 or 8 games and you bail on him to put somebody else in there. Like, they have, Olin's right. They haven't, this roster is not complete, but it's better than it was. They've tried to eliminate some of the excuses and some of the question marks. Now it's up to Justin, with the help of his coaches, to prove whether or not he's that guy. You can't ask him to do that in 7 weeks. You cannot make that decision willy-nilly. You've got to have a full complement of games and a full complement of tape to know that when you make that decision, there's no hesitation. We're either going to do it or we're not going to do it, but there can't be any indecision.
Cap, here's my question to you guys. Were the Chiefs not willing to trade Tyreek Hill to the Bears? I'm just asking. Like, when he was out there on the market, he's an elite wide receiver. Were they not willing to trade him to you? Is that why you did not go get him? Right? But there's been guys traded throughout the last season. If you really want to
Brown, Tyreek Hill, you can keep DeAndre Hopkins was out there. It's a lot of dudes available.
Look at all these quarterbacks playing good football, right? They have, we talked about who is elite on this Bears offense. Find me a young quarterback that's playing well right now. I'll show you 2 or 3 elite guys on his offense. Right? Like I will show that to you, that these guys, and Andy Reid has proven to be an elite offensive coach. So not only Mahomes has elite Kelsey, he has an elite center, he has an elite left guard, he has an elite right guard, he has an elite play caller. Right? Like nobody in the NFL is good by themselves. I hate to say that. But when I look at this roster, yes, they are better. Yes, they are developing. But is it good enough for me to make a decision on Justin Fields? No. I don't care if you give him 17 games. It's not good enough for me to make a decision on Justin Fields.
All right, let's take a quick break here from our fine title sponsors at Feldco, Chicago's home renewal experts.
Mark, a little help here?
Oh, keep it down. The noise is making them angry.
Whoa. Hey, I'm not a beekeeper, but I can replace these windows fast.
Feldco will be here for your home renewal needs. Right now, buy one window and you'll get one free, plus no interest until 2025. And we'll get it done Feldco fast.
Buy one window, get one free, and soon. Hurry. Call now.
Call 866 for Feldco.
Feldco Bears Recap Live is brought to you by Feldco, Chicago's home renewal experts. Call 866-4-FELDCO. 4 Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. For all the right reasons, 4 Seasons. Vienna Beef. Go to viennabeef.com and use code CAP23. That's KAP23 at checkout for 15% off your order today. And Dr. Pepper. Grab an ice-cold, refreshing Dr. Pepper today at a McDonald's near you. All right, time for our play of the game, our Dr. Pepper play of the game. And unfortunately, it was not a good play because it ended up sealing the deal. We touched on it early in our opening segment. It's the pick 6 by Shaquille Barrett. Olin, if you were at center on that play, and it's the 3rd consecutive play, they're calling the same set, the same formation, the same play, are you going, no, we're not doing this, or you just run it?
Well, it wasn't, right? It wasn't the same. It wasn't consecutively, right? It wasn't called. It was, I think, the second time they ran a screen. It wasn't the same formation. It wasn't the exact same play call. I got, Getsy's not that bad of a coach. Now, let's be honest. He wouldn't do that. That's kind of stuff I do when I'm calling plays. I call wedge over and over again. But no, it's not. Look, the play that Shaquille Barrett made, the look for the screen now was good. It was a good look for a screen. You can see Levante David in our picture here. That's the guy. That's the guy covering the running back. He's about 7 or 8 yards off. We got a lineman approaching him. It's just that Shaquille Barrett felt the screen and he stopped his pass rush, Tommy, and just fell off on the running back.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, look, we can have the discussion. It's kind of like the play that Olin highlighted last week, where I didn't know what the F was going on with the play call. It was a red zone, and Justin breaks contain, and Lucas Van Ness, the rookie from
ran him down,
is running him down, and that ball's got to go in the stands. Like, if you don't like the look, or for whatever reason, like it's kind of muddy, and it may be asking a lot, but that's why quarterbacks get paid a shit ton of money, right? I mean, like at that point, maybe it's a bad call, but you can't throw that ball anywhere near Shaq Barrett so that he can make it. He's a fantastic player. I mean, look, you put the whole thing together, and there's a lot of blame you can. I just would hope that my quarterback would either throw it at someone's legs or throw it somewhere. Again, this is asking a lot, but too much is given, much is expected. Do you know what I'm saying? So, like, am I asking? I want to be fair, but I also don't want to coddle someone who's been in the league for 3 years. Do you know what I'm saying? So, like, at some point, we also have to expect certain things from our quarterback. We want to put him in position to excel and succeed, but he also has to have a hand in making sure that, shit doesn't go totally sideways, if you understand. I mean,
yeah, that's a great point, right? Like your quarterback has to save the OC sometimes too when he makes a bad call, right? So to Tommy's point, we've all seen it. Throw the ball on the ground and then swear at the sideline, right?
Yeah.
That's a dumb motherfucking play and all that stuff, right? We've all seen that before. We've all done it before, right? Like, who called that stupid play? But to Tom's point, like, when we say Justin Fields has to be a multiplier, he has to multiply the whole building, right? Like, he has to overcome even bad play calling.
Big Fudge 33 says, can we get Jay Cutler to come in and teach Fields how to ignore play calls?
That's for you, Olin.
Well, what was it? Was it Martz or was it Tice he ignored? It was probably both of them, actually.
Well, it was Martz where I think it was the Monday night game you guys were playing, and you could hear him scream, tell Martz to fuck himself.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. That sounds like Jay.
Yeah.
So the average fan out there, and we all do radio in town, the average fan says, Luke Getsy, you're the worst, because they don't want to throw Justin under the bus. So I'm going to ask the two of you, and you've touched and talked around it directly. How culpable is Luke Getsy? How culpable is Justin? Because I call them the Justin Fields fanboys, can't say anything negative about their quarterback, and I don't think that's grounded in reality.
Cap. Look, I know it has to be one or the other. It's got to be his fault or his fault. And I just really think
both things are true.
Yeah, when you watch the film, I just really think no one in that building is doing well right now, right? And it's just a curious case going on right now at Hallis Hall. I'm watching film and I'm looking for somebody who improved from the year before, somebody who watched film this offseason, someone who attacked the weight room, who got better at what they're doing. And right now they've come out. And as Tommy pointed out very well, there's a long way to go in this season, right? I've started off years bad, 3 or 4 games, and just try to slowly get better every week, man. And by week 8, sometimes I finally pulled myself out of a funk. But this team has to do that. They have to slowly get better, and that's coaches included. This is a whole new staff, man. I mean, last year was their first year offensively. Getsy and his staff are young. They haven't worked together before, and they're just trying to get it going too. So whose fault is it? I mean, when you watch the film, I mean, none of those guys can point fingers. They all got to go home and say, man, I need to get better.
Yeah, I think it depends on the play, Cap. I mean, one play, we can make the decision that the coordinator didn't put his guys in position to take advantage of what they did or what they do well. And then the next play, your quarterback is holding the ball for 5 seconds where 2 guys are actually open. That's on the quarterback. Are you making a good call throwing the screen in the end zone? That may be on the coordinator. Like, so they're sharing. Like, there was a play too, Olin. This probably drove you crazy. And it was early in the game where I think Darnell Wright was setting up to protect. And I think it was maybe the first sack or one of the first sacks in the first half. And Cole Kmet basically just picked Darnell Wright.
Yeah, that's the worst, man.
And so Darnell can't kick out to actually get the outside rush guy. He was pinned by what Cole Kmet did.
Was that scheme or Cole just fucking up?
I think it's failure of unless Cole's job is to come underneath the tackle and release for a pattern, which I've never seen in my life.
Yeah, I don't know.
Do you remember?
You would think he has to chip there, right? Chip.
Yes,
the tackle,
and then release outside.
Yeah, he's been told if the tackle needs help, chip there. I would imagine. It was a little bit of a play action. Cole Kmet was winged outside of Darnell Wright, which tells you I'm going to give, especially against Shaquille Barrett, you think they're going to give him help. So only Cole Kmet and Darnell Wright know what the scheme was there. I would imagine he's supposed to chip. But I know one thing, like Tommy's saying, he's definitely not supposed to pick his tackle on the way out. That I know. And I'll be honest with you guys, man, as you guys know, Tommy knows better than anybody. I've seen fist fights over stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like I've heard guys called names you can't say, even on YouTube, Cap. You can't say the things people say when someone gets picked on a play like that. Now, Darnell Rice is a young tackle, so probably let it go. But as he gets older in this league, when that happens, there are a few choice words for a guy like Cole Kmet. You don't pick an offensive lineman on the way out.
So, like, Cap, when you ask the question, who's culpable, I think we can all come to the same agreement here is that they're taking turns right now effing up. Like they really are. Maybe the play calls aren't accentuating what the guys are doing well. Maybe the quarterback isn't seeing things. Cole is picking his right tackle, so that makes the pass protection completely ineffective or inefficient. Like they have, in 2 weeks, I think they've had a season's worth of execution mistakes, and they've shared the blame, depending on the play.
Hey,
hopefully they get it all out, Cap.
What is your what is on your coffee mug? What does your coffee mug say?
I already told you. I already told you what it says, man. My wife brought me. It says, "Be a nice human," which I'm known for. Everybody knows that.
Of course.
Be a nice human. I love that. Absolutely love it. Before we get into the Chiefs, so what are you working on in practice this week? Are you going, okay, we got to find a way to slow this other team down, adjust them. We're going to cut the field. So what would be a game plan you would work on Wednesday with this team right now?
Man, I don't know about you about game plan, but I am serious in that building about player development. I am serious about developing the young football players I got and try to get to elite level. We talked about this earlier, man. The NFL is a players' league. There's only so much scheming you can do in the NFL. The guys are too good, right? Like Bill Belichick, no one would argue against how good of a coach he is. Since Tom Brady left, you tell me what's been going on down there, okay? This is a players' league. They need to get elite football players in that building. So I got to train my guys so they're getting better every week in the weight room. I can't have them drop anymore because this team has to get better physically. I got to make sure what I see on film, I am training for that in the weight room. I am rehabbing. I am studying things. I am getting a little bit better every day with each player, what they need to work on. And someone needs to identify that in that building. And if they don't, this team is going to get a little worse every week. And this is going to get really hard to watch soon.
I keep focusing on the trenches on both sides of the football. In a game like this, you're going to have to find a way. I know he's only been in camp for a week, but I think he was a difference maker in the first game he played against the Jags on Sunday, Chris Jones. Find out where he's going to line up and make sure that he's not wrecking your drive every single time. And then I have to find a way to, it's virtually impossible, but I have to try and find a way to make Patrick Mahomes uncomfortable. And I'm almost giggling when I say that because that cat's never uncomfortable.
How do you do that?
Uncomfortable. He's like, I have so much respect for his skill. But then I watched that quarterback series on Netflix. And
how great was that?
Well, it just enhanced what I felt about him and his leadership and his work ethic and how he makes everyone around him better. Look, it's a Herculean task, but somehow, some way, I gave you the stats. They had 1 quarterback hit and 0 sacks on Baker Mayfield. They've got 1 sack and 0 takeaways in 2 weeks.
And that was a coverage sack.
So are you climbing Mount Everest naked? Mm-hmm. Sure. But you know what? Somebody step up and make a play and try to turn the momentum in that game, whether it's a sack or it's a takeaway. But again, I'd be focusing on the line of scrimmage because I still have the utmost respect for all of you guys that played in the trenches. And I think that's where the game's decided every Sunday.
Mm-hmm. All right, time for our Eye on the Opponent. And it is brought to you by the great people at Vienna. We call it our look ahead. I'm happy to announce my partnership with Vienna Beef this year. Great taste, great flavor since 1893. Celebrating their 130th anniversary. Look for one of my favorite kits, the Chicago-style hot dog kit. Perfect for your tailgate, for game day. Go to viennabeef.com. Use code CAP23 at checkout. Get 15% off your order today. If you're not in Chicago and you can't get these great hot dogs, have your party, watch the Bears game, and order up at viennabeef.com. Okay, Olin, you've got Patrick Mahomes, obviously a monster. Travis Kelce, obviously the best at his position in the league. So what do you try to do to slow them down?
Yeah, you with the Chicago Bears defense, I'm guessing they almost have to outguess Andy Reid because they can't line up and outplay them man for man, right? Look, their biggest challenge, guys, is going to be the inside three to Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, and Joe Tooney. They just like Billy's has been playing pretty good, if you ask me. I've been watching him in nose guard. He's getting some pressures. He's actually been pretty good in there, doing the most out of any defensive lineman right now. But this inside matchup, because here's why I'm so worried about it. You can't overload Mahomes. You cannot, because he's going to beat you down the field. He's going to throw the ball on you all day long. So they're going to have to match up man for man against this inside three. This is the best inside three they've seen yet this year. And the Kansas City Chiefs are at home. So you got to give Mahomes a light box. Like I always tell people, if Creed Humphrey, Mahomes center, ever saw one extra guy in the box, he'd probably call timeout because he wouldn't recognize that, right? So this is going to be, Tom, I'm going to have to say it, man. I don't think there's a way they slow them down. Right, like last week, Tom brought up, they did blitz. They brought Strowman, which you wish it was, I'm losing his name now, but you wish it was Gordon, right? You wish it was Gordon blitzing, but it wasn't. It was Strowman. And the ball came out, and Tyreek Stevenson just could not cover those two guys. So I don't know what they do. I don't know who guards Travis Kelce. I don't know who guards I don't know who stops Patrick Mahomes. I don't know who stops that offensive line, to be honest.
You know what? I got to tell you, every Sunday for 6 years, I think it was me there, and Zorich got there in 90 or 91, whatever it was. We were the three amigos in Mass every Sunday before a game. I was there because I was praying to God I wasn't going to get killed. But like, look, whatever God you pray to, I would advise every one of them to get to chapel, get to Mass Sunday before this game, and just pray for a miracle, because the group that they're facing off with is, in my humble opinion, they're elite in so many different places, and you're just not going to line up man for man and get the best of them. You got to hope that they take you lightly, which I don't think they will, because especially that offense, they have not had a Chiefs-like game so far this year. They lost to the Detroit Lions. They didn't have Kelce. And then this week, there was a lot of sloppy play from their offense against Jacksonville. Give the Jags some credit. But that's an offense that I think is just, it's a volcano that's bubbling, that's about to explode offensively. So, look, I'll always have hope, but realistically, I don't know. I would just say, again, don't beat yourself. There's no shame in a more talented team beating you, but don't be the reason why that, don't be the weak link.
Tell Olin the story of Boston College Notre Dame playing. You're at walkthrough in Kansas City, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, we were in Kansas City.
And Wani aired you and Zorich out because you guys were watching the Notre Dame Boston College thing on a little handheld TV.
Yeah, we were going to Kansas City and we were watching the game. It was the game where the kid Gordon, I think, ultimately kicked the field goal.
David Gordon.
Yeah, it looked like it was going way wide and then came back through. So we were watching the game from the bus on the way from the airport to the stadium. We went right to walkthrough. And I really wasn't playing much at the time. Wani wasn't a big fan of mine. I was gassed and I was, I had nothing left in the tank. And I mean, Chris was still probably playing and contributing, but we were standing on the sidelines, not paying any attention at all. We were watching the game and we're going through walkthrough. And then David Gordon hit the kick. And when he kicked it, I think Chris screamed because he thought it was going wide. And then it came veering back in. And then I screamed. And we're in the middle of running a play in a walkthrough. And Zorch and I are standing there like a couple of freaking college kids in the stands hollering about it. And Wani just looked at us and told us to go inside to the locker room. And we were of no use. So he was right. I don't know what to say.
I'm sure if Pitt was on, he'd be doing the same thing.
Of course.
You know what I mean? If
right.
Pitt was on, he'd be doing the same thing.
He would understand now. At the time, I understood why he was upset. I mean, we were wrong. But at that point, when BC beats Notre Dame,
oh man,
it's worth having your coach run you off the field and tell you to go sit down in the locker room. I
got to agree with that.
Yeah.
Okay, so give me your 3 keys to the game, Olin.
Okay, they need takeaways, right? They got to be +4. I would imagine they got to be +4. Like they had 2 chances last week.
+4.
They had 2 chances last week. and they had a blocked field goal, so that would have been +3, right? They had a chance. I mean, I know Fields had his 2 late takeaways, but look, Brisker's dropping. Remember, Jalen Johnson punched that ball out, went about 30 or 40 yards, and a blocked field goal. So to me, that was +3. They could have been close last week, but they do. They got to have takeaways. My second key to the game is, I know we talk about the players, but I think Eberflus, I don't know what the curious case. I hope everything's okay with him. I don't know the curious case of Alan Williams. I don't know what's going on there, but Coach Flus has to out-coach Andy Reid, right? He has to win that battle. And then on offense, they have to control the ball and control the clock. So they got to find a way to block Chris Jones, get first downs, keep the chains moving. And look, if I'm them, man, when I show up there, I'm in 4-minute offense already.
Yeah.
I'm running that. I'm trying to shorten that game, and then call Pat Manley about Dave Tobe and try to get a freebie on special teams.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I would see similar stuff. You have to win the turnover battle. There's no question about it. There's no way that you can win.
How
this
many,
game.
Tommy? How many?
+9. I think you got to be +9. I think you got to be +9 to actually win this game. No, I think you definitely have to be on the
+9.
No, I'm joking. I think also, look, you've got to be. You also have to win the penalty battle. You cannot be 1st and 15. You can't be 2nd and 13. You cannot shoot yourself in the foot against this team. They're too damn good. So you've got to be the more disciplined team, commit fewer penalties. You have to be the more, aggressive team in terms of takeaways. And I think you got to run the football. I really do. Like Olin said, not only are you playing the 4-minute game, but look, this was the number 1 rushing team in the league last year, and a lot of it was Justin. But get back to doing what you do well, and that's moving forward. Olin could tell you this better than I. Like, when your offensive line is struggling, what do you want to do? Move forward, go forward. Even if it's not working, keep running it and keep trying to, get something established on the ground.
Vinny says 1, pray.
Yeah,
2, play to Justin's strengths and more of last year's offense. 3, be ready to be 0-3.
I think Tommy said all of that. I think he's gone. A quick story about penalties, because we talked about the Bears are not, Tommy's talking about the Bears are not good enough to overcome penalties. I remember I went to New Orleans in the first game at Green Bay, and I was playing with Drew Brees, for a quarterback like that, for the first time. And I had a false start, and he looked at me and said, Olin, you're just slowing us down, man. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, you really don't need – basically he was telling me, like, you really don't need a false start on this offense because we're going to score anyway. So, and he was right. I mean, I couldn't believe it that game. We just kept scoring points. And it kind of felt like the Twilight Zone because I've never been a part of anything like that.
Yeah, weren't you guys down like 14?
Down 14, Drew Brees walks up. He says, we're going no huddle. I said, okay, they never stopped us again. Right? They never, and in New Orleans now, when they installed 2-minute offense, all the coaches left, and I was like, what the hell is going on? And Drew stood up, and he installed 2-minute offense. It was
Olin, this is that's the offensive version of Brian Urlacher. Like, you talk about a guy that can just, you hit your wagon to. Defensively, it's Brian, and offensively, as you described, I mean, Drew, lead us where we need to go.
Man. It was unbelievable. And I remember thinking to myself on the bench there in Green Bay, how little the center actually meant to this whole thing that was going on.
I want to read you guys some numbers through 27 career starts. Justin Fields, 59.9% completion percentage, 4,469 passing yards, 36 passing and rushing TDs, 31 turnovers, and a passer rating of 79.7. Mitchell Trubisky, 63% completion,
Let it go, Cap.
644 yards.
Let it go.
680 rush yards, 36 passing and rushing TDs, just 26 turnovers, and an 86.3 passer rating. Everybody ran Mitch out of town. They're starting to turn on Justin. You can feel it.
Sitting on the bench in Pittsburgh with all those stats, right? But no, I mean, look,
it wasn't good
they
enough.
have to play. Yeah, they have to play better. But look, go through, if you're going to do that to Justin Fields, then do me a favor. Go through the last 13 years of Chicago Bears football. Give me the winning percentage. Give me the playoff wins. Give me the number of winning years. Give me the number of Pro Bowlers. You have to go through the whole organization and just say, look, you guys all haven't been good enough.
Yeah.
I do want to read you guys a couple stats just to have you react before I let you go.
Mhm.
Justin Fields has taken 10 sacks this season, 9 of which have come after 4 or more seconds holding the football. Since 2021, he's taken 79 of those sacks, 4 or more seconds, 16 more than any quarterback in the NFL. Tom Brady, I listened to him say it. If the ball's not out of my hands in no more than 2 3/4 seconds, closer to 2.5, it's my fault, nobody else's. Is that how are we holding the ball this
Well, no, I would say this. If you're holding your breath and you're expecting that to change dramatically, you're going to turn blue in the face and pass out because you are who you are at this point on that front. Can you get incrementally better in other areas? Sure. But at some point, you just define this is who you are. And I think what we have found is that from the pocket, this isn't where he's most effective. And if you continue to try to, see if he is going to improve significantly from that spot, I'm not sure you're going to be pleased with what you see. So you're going to have to adjust and ask him to do some of the stuff that he does better. Ultimately, at the end of the day, though, he has to assume responsibility for himself. If they ask you, look, I said this last year, I probably said it last week as well. I don't care if the name on the back of your jersey is Rice or it's Pettis. Open is open in the National Football League, and you have to make the throw when the player is open. I don't care what the circumstances are. There are going to be situations, there are going to be moments when you're going to get hit when you throw the ball. Look at the kid in Minnesota, Kirk Cousins. Everyone, thinks he's a very average quarterback. There are certain things that he does that I'm impressed with. He steps in the pocket, he gets his ass kicked considerably and consistently, and he continues to throw the football. And I think that those are things that a young quarterback got to learn to do. You're going to get hit. You got to step up and you got to let it fly.
Yeah, I honestly think like Tom is saying with Justin Fields, I don't mind him holding the ball a little longer than Tom Brady, right? This is not the comparison, right? I want to know what Michael Vick thinks about holding the ball. I want to know what Randall Cunningham thinks about holding the ball. I want to know what Russell Wilson, when he was winning Super Bowls and playing at a high level, what does he think about holding the ball? Because it's the kind of quarterback Justin Fields is, right? And the only problem is we haven't seen him get out and be dynamic, right? Like if you're going to hold that ball, then you need to break that tackle. You need to get out of the box. You need to find a receiver on your scramble rules, or you need to get down the field and running the ball. Because he's never going to be the kind of guy, like Tom said, he's showing you in the NFL. I will always say, once someone shows you who they are, believe them. Look at Chase Claypool. This is who he is. We're going to be talking about him in week 8, about something he did, and hopefully he comes back and practices harder, and he's going to do it over and over and over again. Same with Justin Fields, man. He's not that kind of quarterback. He's not going to catch and shoot. He's going to catch, hold, hopefully break a tackle, and then go to the house on you. And that's what he has to do more of. He has to go sooner.
And Olin, to enhance what you're saying as well, I thought there were a lot of times, especially in the second half of the season last year, that he evaded the rush. And instead of tucking and running, he was able to balance the moments when he would run, and then he would also show patience and allow the defender to come to him, which then opened up throwing lanes. So then he would scramble to then buy time to push the ball downfield. And they made a ton of plays doing that last year. So it's not just evading the rush and tucking and going. It's evading the rush, buying time, and then allowing your receivers to find gaps and then delivering the football. And that's something we haven't seen them do yet, but something I thought they did really well in the second half last year.
All right, before I let you guys go, I'm going to get your picks. Olin, I just wanted to read you this. Bears offensive coordinators since 2012. Mike Tice, O-line coach with no experience. Aaron Kromer, O-line coach with no experience. Adam Gase, gone after 1 year. Dowell Loggins, 1 year of experience at Tennessee. Mark Helfrich, hired when he was unemployed. Bill Lazor, hired when he was unemployed. Luke Getsy, 1 year of experience in college. That are your play call. Those are your play callers.
Listen, man, I mean, we do analyst work in this city. I played for 13 years here. I've been here since 1998. You ain't telling me stuff I don't know. I watch on the side, and I just I sit in my gym, and I read things they do there, and I watch what they do, and I just shake my head, man. I don't know what to tell you about all that.
All right, predictions. Tommy, what's the score?
I would say this one's going to be 30-17 Kansas City.
Olin.
You know, Cap. I have responsibilities, man. Stop doing this to me. I can't make picks on this.
You make a pick, Cap.
Yeah, Cap. You're not paying enough on this YouTube channel. You know what I mean?
I pay better than anybody. I'm gonna be at the game as a fan, not working. I'm gonna say Kansas City wins the game 34-13.
Okay. I you know what I would probably say, I don't know, the number's 13. I would say Kansas City probably covers that. So I would say 31-17, something of that nature.
Man, Spagnuolo, right? Spagnuolo versus Fields and Getsy, man. I mean, they're staffed. Told. I mean,
Olin, you go from Todd Bowles last week to Spagnuolo this week.
He's going to heat him up. He's going to heat him up. You know, I will say this: there is an interesting matchup between the kid from Purdue, Karlaftis versus Wright. It'll be a good matchup there on that.
George Karlaftis can really play now.
Yeah, he can play. So him and Chris Jones together, that's going to be tough in there.
Gentlemen, I appreciate it. I look forward to next week. And then finally the Chiefs will be in the rearview mirror, and we'll see if we can turn this thing north, or maybe they shock the world in Kansas City. For Olin, for Tommy, I'm David Kaplan. Thanks for watching Feldco Bears Recap Live. Bear down. We'll see you next week.